This video is brought to you by Saturday's video. If you haven't yet, please click the link in the description below to vote for your favorite character of 2024. Also, whether you agree on these lists or not, do hit like or dislike, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, since it does help out the channel and it keeps me motivated to make more. Hello everyone and welcome to the top 10 tech characters on Bleach Brave Souls. You guys know the drill. Before I begin, do keep in mind that this is just opinion. Everyone plays the game differently, so obviously opinions will vary. I tried to find a good balance, but there's never any pleasing everybody. That said, if you find yourself disagreeing, then get in the comments and rage! Because at the end of the day, even that helps the algorithm. That's right, your anger works for me now.
舐められては困るな。波動の九州、黒棺。
Now, some of you may not remember this, especially if you're relatively new to the game, but several years ago, Caleb released the Lost Asian version of Soifel. She had high SP, frenzy, and great range on her strong attacks, but what really made her stand out, and be absolutely broken, was her many flash steps and long stride. Long stride specifically, given what Guild Quiz was at the time, essentially scared Caleb into not giving any more multi-flash step or long stride, at least for a few years. So why am I bringing that up now? Has no one else noticed that they haven't given any other character an 80% increase in attack if they inflict a status element ever since this Isen came out? In fact, the only other character to have it is the Cacao Society version of Ukiura, and even his pales in comparison to what Isen can do. He has Disabler against speed enemies, can inflict weakening on all of his attacks except for his strong attack 2, which is a boost move with enhancer. It's also a barrier move, with multi-barrier at 2. He has Bruiser at 40, a normal attack damage link of 20, guard break and hit hidden enemies, and he's a gauge character. When that gauge is full, his 60% normal attack increase turns into a 160% increase, his strong attacks recharge a bit, and he takes 50% less damage. So think about that. 160% bruiser, 80% attack increase from inflicting weakening, 33% attack increase from his strong attack 2, flurry, and on top of all that, the enemies are weakened, so their defense is lowered. So yeah, while there are other characters that are much faster than Isen, and better in specific situations, I did want to put him at the number 10 spot because of how rare it is that Caleb introduces a mechanic that is so strong that it scares them from doing it again. Next up, we have the 1000-year Blood War version of Rangiku. This version of Rangiku has a really high SP as well as Frenzy at 2. She can inflict debilitating laceration with all of her attacks, and laceration and freeze with her special. She has a Shape Shot strong attack 1, a Hybrid Vortex strong attack 2, and a Beyond full screen strong attack 3 thanks to Havoc. If she does inflict the status element, her SP goes up by 80%. Not only that, but she and any other tech Soul Reaper inflict 40% more damage on enemies afflicted with the status element. She also has Guard Break and the ability to hit hidden enemies. Her special inflicts weakened defense, and she has long stride. With all that said, I do want to bring up her full stamina damage abilities. She has a full stamina strong attack damage link of 40%, and after defeating 20 enemies, she gains 20% full stamina damage and 40% after defeating 40 enemies, bringing the grand total up to 100% if her health is full. That's before Frenzy at 2. This is a lot of damage, but again, she only gets it if her health is full. She does have the ability to recover stamina for the whole team by 20% anytime they enter a new area, but something like that doesn't really apply in Guild Quest. Still, everywhere else it's amazing, and she still gets the boost in Guild Quest as long as you don't get hit. Lucky for her, she's immune to being burnt, so at least the fire floors won't be an issue. I do wish she had a better way to recover health, but even if she does get hurt, she still deals a massive amount of damage.
なんだこりゃ。メリークリスマス。おう頑張ってんな。
Next up, we have Lil Toto. I don't like saying the name, so that might be the only time you hear me say it. Anyway, she has a really high SP as well as Frenzy at 2, 3 in Guild Quest. Additionally, all of her attacks can inflict debilitating laceration and drain. If they do, she gains an 80% SP boost, and she ends up dealing more damage, since one of her 2 soul traits is damage to drained enemies at 30%. She also has an ability that lets all the Quincy's in the party deal more damage against status ailment enemies. Now this character shines in Guild Quest, since like I said earlier, her Frenzy goes to 3, and she has an ability that increases her melee damage by 10, but 30 for Guild Quest, as well as her killer effect by 30 and 50 in Guild Quest. Speaking of which, she has a Sternritter plus killer, something that's really only effective in Guild Quest, and in specifics in Common Course. That said, she has Disabler against all Quincy's, not just Sternritter, so she is pretty useful anywhere Quincy's are the enemies. In the end, if this was a Guild Quest specific list, she'd definitely be much higher, but as it stands, her moves are kind of generic. generically good. A hybrid Vortex Strong Attack 1, a near full screen Strong Attack 2, and a beyond full screen Strong Attack 3 with an EX move that gives you a barrier is definitely enough to land you on this list, guild cost character or not.
挽回坂島横島八方塞がりしまいや
Next up, we have the 1000-year Blood War version of Shinji. Like pretty much every other character that comes out these days, he also has a really high SP as well as Frenzy at 2. He can inflict debilitating confusion and weakening with all of his attacks, and if he does, his SP gets increased by 80% due to his ability and another 40% thanks to his link, for a grand total of 120%. Plus, he deals 60% more damage on confused enemies, and he has both Bruiser and Berserker at 50%. I'm not sure why he has Bruiser at 50, but it would be a very fun wrong build if I had him. Anyway, his special not only inflicts confusion and weakening, but also weakened defense, dealing extra damage along with his 70% devastation. And because it confuses enemies, the 60% is also added. Shinji also has Havoc and a strong attack recharge ability, letting him use his strong attacks more frequently. And there's some pretty good ones, with a Shave Shot Strong Attack 1, a Strong Attack 2 that's near full screen, and a beyond full screen Strong Attack 3. He's completely immune to being frozen, and he's got Disabler against all Soul Reapers. He is honestly a very good character, who I wish I could put higher on the list, but unfortunately he has the worst killer in the entire game, the Zero Squad Killer. I mean, it is Zero Squad Killer Plus, but still, only 5 characters in the entire series fall under this category. Good thing his Disabler affects all Soul Reapers, not just Squad Zero. Still, it says something that even with this less than stellar killer, he's still one of the best tech characters in the entire game. It's the number 6 spot. You guys know what that means. It's time for the PvP character. And for tech, that would be Orihime. Like many of the other characters we've covered for PvP so far, she also has a high attack with Flurry at 2, but 3 for the first 10 seconds. She can prevent Brave Battle healing, ignore Brave Battle invincibility, is herself invincible for the first 10 seconds, prevent Last Ditch survival, and attack while others are attacking her thanks to poise. She also has resistance to damage thanks to her damage reduction soul trait being at 20, and she decreases the damage taken even further when she gets to half health by another 50%. Also at half health, she increases the amount of normal attack damage she does by 50%. And while she may not be a strong attacking character, her strong attack 2 is very useful, since it both debuffs the enemy team and creates a barrier for her and her team. Finally, she has paralysis resistance, and if she were ever to go down, she also has the persistence ability, letting her stay at 1 and invulnerable for 5 seconds. She's definitely a PvP character, but thanks to Flurry being at 2 always, and that sharpshooter, she's also pretty useful in PvE.
Shinji, 白筆一文字黒割りのごとくに踏み潰されて死ぬがよい
Next up, we have Ichibe, who has a really high SP and Frenzy at 1? Yep, you heard right. He may start out at Frenzy at 1, but he's a gauge character, and when that gauge is full, everything changes. To start off, he has Berserker at 50%, but once that gauge is activated, that goes to 150%, and he gains an additional Frenzy. Plus, his SP goes up by 50%, and his strong attacks recharge by 30%. That is one heavy hitting character. Not to mention that he starts out with 70% of his gauge already full, and he has Gauge Rampage, so even after he uses it, it fills back up pretty quickly. Plus, his strong attacks are no joke. A Hybrid Vortex Strong Attack 1, a Beam Shot Strong Attack 2, and a Beyond Full Screen Strong Attack 3, thanks to Havoc being at 20. He's also got 2 killers of Soul Reaper and Quincy, and his special has both Bombardment and Weakened Defense, on top of also inflicting weakening. He's also got Long Stride for easy dodging of specials, Marauder for getting past defenses, and he's completely immune to being paralyzed. Now yeah, unfortunately he can't stay hyperpowered for the entire duration of the quest, but having a gauge does mean you have a bit more control over when to activate it.
死神だけじゃねえフォローでもねえ俺にはまだ使える力がある
I did not expect to put such an old character so high up on this list, but here we are. Despite coming out in early 2023, at number 4 we have the remade Quincy version of Ichigo, who after I'm done telling you about, you'll have a hard time believing he came out so long ago. Seriously, he's really ahead of his time. He's got a really high SP as well as Berserker at 40%, Frenzy at 2, an ability that increases all tech attribute character strong attacks by 20%, another ability that recharges tech attribute strong attacks by 20% every time they enter a new area, a full stamina damage ability, ability, which he can keep alive thanks to being able to inflict both debilitating, weakening, and drain on all of his attacks, Disabler against all speed characters, and an 80% increase of SP if he does inflict a status ailment. He's got Havoc at 20, a Beyond Full Screen Strong Attack 3, a Beam Shot Strong Attack 2, and a Shape Shot Strong Attack 1. Which, yeah, Shape Shot Strong Attacks aren't great for damage, but they're great for that combo count, and excellent at inflicting a status ailment. He's got Sharpshooter, 2 Killers of Hollow and Human, a Strong Attack Recharge Link, and Sprinter at 2. Seriously, if you didn't know who this character was already, you'd guess he was a relatively recent character.
ほら取るわよってなんであんたたち言うこと聞きなさいよ
Next up is the Swimsu version of Megumin, Bambi. She has a really high SP as well as Berserker at 40%, Frenzy at 2, 3 in Guild Quest, a boosted Strong Attack Recharge Link of 14%, and a Rancard Killer that's boosted thanks to her Killer Boost ability, which is 30%, 50 in Guild Quest, an increased melee damage ability of 10%, 30 in Guild Quest, the ability to inflict debilitating paralysis and laceration with all of her attacks, an increased chance of doing so against the Rancars, an SP boost of 80% if she does, freeze resistance, Havoc at 20, Long Stride, Marauder, and after she defeats 25 enemies, the entire party gains a boost in their killer of 20%, which is useful anywhere but especially useful in areas that multiply killers. She's also got some very good strong attacks with a Hybrid Vortex Strong Attack 1, a Beam Shot Strong Attack 2, and a Beyond Full Screen Strong Attack 3. There are some characters that are exceptionally good in Guild Quest, and she's definitely one of them, but her abilities and killer make her an insanely good character even outside of Guild Quest.
浴びちゃった僕の血はいみんな切腹
Next, we have a character truly like no other. Justel has a really high SP as well as Frenzy at 2, Berserker at 60, and all the other stuff you might expect from a high SP character. Boosted Strong Attack Recharge, SP increase on ailment, Havoc at 20, standard stuff. Or so you would think, because all of these attacks have a chance to inflict a new status ailment, Dominate, which causes enemies to start attacking their allies. A really cool addition to the game, and one that I'm sure we're gonna see Shinji's and Isen's get at some point in the future. It's also cool because Debilitator with this status ailment is at 7 seconds, instead of your usual 5 or 2. Also, Justel deals 100% more damage to dominated enemies, and an additional 30% on enemies with any ailment. But let's be real, there's a good chance it'll be dominated. Not just because the second strong attack is a Hybrid Vortex move that hits multiple times, but also because the EX move is a Seeking Vortex move, though technically not a strong attack, so Frenzy doesn't really apply here. It's also slower moving than your typical Seeking Vortex, and doesn't last as long, but it does have a higher chance of inflicting Dominate per hit. It also has a Soul Reaper Killer Plus, and a special that not only inflicts Dominate, but also has weakened defense, it's twice as hard thanks to being Bombardment, and grants the revival status to any ally alive to see it, giving them an extra opportunity if they were to go down. I'm really excited to see what happens with this new status ailment, and I hope other characters get it sooner rather than later, since I know there's some status ailments like Confusion and Slow that still pop up every now and then, but are not as common as they should be. Now before I get to number 1, here are a few honorable mentions. And please, if you haven't voted yet for your favorite character of 2024, we're at the halfway mark of this week, and time is running out, so please do so. Link is in the description.
覚悟はできたか染め上げろ妖乱氷蓮
そらよ露天風呂からの日光浴と行こうぜケンピカ
やれやれそない焦らんでもじっくりやろうやなあ
あれはほらみんなのところへ
逃げ足は早いようだな終わりだ
やー枯れれば食らえ
皆さんグリーンマニエル
No, I'm just kidding, but you should have seen the look on your face! Haha, classic Jimmy.
想像する力は単純に倍だなすすべがないってこういうことさ
Obviously at number 1 we have Grmy Bugs Aplenty. If you don't get that joke, you didn't watch Fairly Odd Parents. Anyway, Grmy here has a really high SP as well as Frenzy at 3, and Berserker at 50%. He's also got a Hollow Killer Plus, Disabler against Hollows, and if he inflicts a status ailment, which he's very likely to do, his SP goes up by 80%. In addition to that killer, he's also able to dodge 50% of hollow damage, and he has 2 soul traits, strong attack damage and strong attack recharge, the best possible combination. Grmy also has 2 abilities that affect the other Quincy's in the team, one that boosts their strong attack damage by 20%, and another that makes them deal 30% more damage if the enemy is affected with the status element. Speaking of which, he's also completely immune to all status elements, and all of his attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating paralysis and drain. His strong attack 3 is beyond full screen, his strong attack 2 is a seeking vortex move, the best kind of strong attack, and his strong attack 1 is a beam shot, which in my opinion is actually the best strong attack set in the game. Then there's his EX move, which not only hits hard and can inflict debilitating paralysis and drain, but also debuffs the enemies and boosts the team. But wait, there's more! He's also got sharpshooter, bombardment, and weaken defense on his special, and if that wasn't enough for you, you greedy little orb goblin, he also has ailment reversal, which not only redirects status ailments that enemies try to inflict at him back at them, but also heals him, because why not? I've said it before and I'll say it again, anniversary characters are built to stand the test of time. And if this is what we got for the 9th anniversary, just what in the world awaits us for the 10th? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do hit like and subscribe to the channel. Seriously, it helps motivate me to keep going. And if you haven't yet, vote for your favorite character. Links in the description.